Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We gonna light it up. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We gonna light it up.
Hey guys, how are we doing tonight? Welcome in, welcome in. I was just getting my book together there, but welcome in everybody. It's good to see everyone. How is everybody doing today? Having a good weekend? Start your weekend, hopefully you guys are. I'm just putting some stuff away really quick. I feel like my desk is a little bit of a mess. Jeez Louise. Jeez Louise. My dog's getting comfortable back there, so we're going to let her go ahead and do that. They don't have their collars on tonight, though, so they won't be bothering you with those. If they shake their head, they're running around here all naked and such without their collars on. They had a bath today, so that's good. I'm glad you guys are doing good. You can't see it so good. Okay. The dogs are all getting comfortable back there, so. If you are new to the channel, hi, hello, welcome into the channel. My name is Tanya or TitaniumBuilt. You can call me either or. And then welcome back to everybody that came in for tonight's live. I appreciate it. We ended up having a really nice day here today. It was really, really pretty. I ended up falling asleep at the pool. There was no kids at the pool today. It was the weirdest Saturday ever. It was the weirdest Saturday ever. Usually, you know, the Saturday, like, you know, that's when people go to the pool because they're off of work and kids are out of school. But yeah, nobody was there. And I'm not going to lie, it was pleasant. It was very pleasant. So, hey, Ladybug. Hey, baby girl. Welcome in. Hey, Dawn. We'll say hi to people in chat and then we'll get to it. Hey, Cuff You. Welcome in, everybody. Hey, Catherine. You were number 3 tonight. I didn't even actually. Sometimes, like, usually I'll come in and I'll like my own video because, you know, you got to do that to get yourself in the algorithm. If you guys don't mind taking a second, hitting the like button, I'm sure you'll like the content tonight. And then if you don't, then you just Take it right back. Really? Today would have been my mom's birthday today. And it was my cat's birthday. He's still here. So your oldest turns 24. Look at that. Happy birthday to your oldest. Really, Dawn? Your birthday's tomorrow? Well, look at that. Cancer babies everywhere. Thanks, Ladybug. I'm sure she had a rocking good birthday. Well, actually, whenever I came home from the pool, right when I got home, it started raining really, really hard. And it was thundering and stuff. So I was like, that's probably her letting me know she received those birthday wishes. So I think she was letting me know. Hey, Cheryl. I think it's actually raining again right now. But it didn't. You may have to check your YouTube notifications. If you're not getting the notifications, yeah, make sure that your phone is set up to have the notifications for YouTube. You know, in your settings on your phone, like the actual app for YouTube. Because even though if you might have mine set to all, it might not come through if you don't have your YouTube app set to allow notifications also. Very weird. You never heard of the firefighter part? It came out, when did that come out? Probably like 6 months ago or so, I'd say. Has it been that long? Probably hasn't been that long. Are you talking about what Dylan saw that night and she thought it was a firefighter? And then, well, Bethany was trying to, maybe give her an idea of who it was. And she's like, maybe it was Xana. Because like Xana was wearing all black that day. And but it wasn't, of course, Santa. Yeah, let's say we haven't seen Squeaky the last couple of days. Maybe he doesn't like my reading. That's Squeaky. Hey, Willows. I'm sure it's not it, but he's probably had some stuff to do. Hey, Kathleen. Hey, Dion. Hey, Michael. Welcome in. Hey, Ashley. It's good to see everybody in here tonight. People are coming in, sitting down, getting relaxed, getting ready for the live, aren't you? It's good to see y'all. It's good to see everyone. And if you didn't come to our live earlier today, you missed out. There is so much new stuff coming out of this book. And I heard somewhere today, I don't know where I heard it. It was a news broadcast. They said that they spoke to the chief. I think it was Chief Fry, and said, just like asked him, like he wasn't given interviews, but they asked him if everything that's in the book, is it correct? Like, is it true? And he was like, yeah. So take with what you will. Maybe he read the book, maybe he didn't, but I swear I heard that today. So if anyone else heard that, let me know where you heard it, because I've been listening to stuff all day about this case. I feel like, hey, Triple L. Simple Southern Mama, welcome in. I cut out so many channels on my on my page that I'm just like, I need to find new stuff to watch. You're a Scorpio? House full of water signs. Yeah, that is. Libra gang. Yep, Ashley knows. Oh, you're welcome, Cheryl. I don't mind. Hey, Lenora. Hey, Shirley. I knew I was going to read the book anyway. So I was like, well, we might as well get one big enough to read on the screen, which it's actually helpful to me. Although I love a good book. I like to, the pages, and I like to smell the book, and I like to enjoy the whole experience of reading a book. But I'm coming to realize that one eye does not, it like when you're reading that small a print, it's not that much fun. You know what I mean? It's like, ugh. You're like second guessing yourself, at least with the bigger print. But I love the book. I'm glad I got it. I'm glad that True Crime Lullabies got this for me. It was very sweet, and she's actually letting me tell that I need to go to the eye doctor. I'm like, man, as I told Vincent earlier, I was like, I need to go to the eye doctor sometime soon. I go see my prosthetic doctor on Monday, but not the real doctor, not the real eye doctor. Regular eye doctor. So I was going to show you this video. It was just like a 10-minute video. It's about the Brian Kohberger case, obviously, but it's about the book. So if you guys are kind of behind, or you haven't, read the book at all yet, and you're just coming in for the first time, you don't need to have read anything to really jump right into where we're at, in the book. But I found this from Megan Kelly, and she talks to Vicky Ward, one of the authors of the book. It's James Patterson and Vicky Ward. And I think that they had decided that Vicky was going to do more of like the press and stuff like that. So she goes and she talks to Megan Kelly about who they think is the target and all that. And it might have even been in this interview where she talks about the Chief Fry thing. So we'll see. So let me pull this up. Welcome in, everybody. Hey, Evangelina. Hey, Maga Mama. I know I came on a little bit earlier tonight. So everyone's like, what's going on? But I was just kind of just sitting here, and I was like, I might as well just go on, right? Right. So I figured we'll go through this video, and then we'll see if some people come in and hang with us. But it says, shocking new reporting about why Brian Kohberger focused on one specific Idaho victim. And they'll talk about excerpts. They'll take that from the excerpts from the book and stuff too. So thank you guys for being here. I'm going to go ahead and play the video. We'll pause it for commentary, and I'll put this link in the description.
So you've written this book with the very famous James Patterson.
Yes.
And it's called, hold on a second, I want to make sure I have it here. It's called The Idaho Four, An American Tragedy. Yeah. Okay, again, by Vicky Ward. I'm my guest today, Vicky Ward, and James Patterson, everybody knows. And you've interviewed, my understanding is, over 300 people to try to get to the bottom of some new facts around these horrific murders. And one of the things you've managed to confirm, you tell me what the big news items are, but is that you do believe that Maddie Mogen was the target.
Was the target. Yes. And, I went and traced Kohberger's footsteps and, the routes he drove that the police know about. And there's only one place you could park behind the house where they all lived on King Road in Moscow. And when you park your car there at this cul-de-sac at the back, the house is no longer there. But when it was there, you had a direct view really onto one person's bedroom, and that was Maddie Mogen. And in fact, I went there one time with a young woman and friend of theirs who lived next door, a woman called Vicky Patterson, and she would say that she would come out to her car most evenings, because that's where she parked her car, and they all had the lights on, glaring brightly, never thinking that anyone would be watching from the road, and that she would see most evenings Maddie in the window at her vanity, curling her hair, doing her makeup, and it used to make this young friend of theirs smile.
I think that you could see a lot more than just Maddie's room from the back parking lot. Like if you're on the back side of the parking lot, you should be able to see in Dylan's room. Kaylee, I'm not too sure about, because hers was kind of like, on that side at the top, but you would still think you could see through that. Maybe not necessarily in the car, but if you just walked over like a few feet, you would think you'd be able to stand there, right? And look up. I was just like looking up pictures of the back of 1122 King Road whenever she said that.
Of course, she no longer was smiling when she thought that it appeared from the police report that Brian Kohberger would have been sitting in his car watching the house at least 12 times prior to the night of the murders in November the 13th, 2022. So that was a thing.
Exactly what room she was in and where to go when he entered.
Yes. And that it seemed from the social media digital footprint that he had, he had slipped into the DMs of all three of the women, but the only one of them who he really liked the photos and all the rest of it by herself was Maddie. If he liked pictures of Kaylee,
that's new. I did not know that. He actually did slip into the DMs of the other.
Yes.
Of
yes.
who?
No, that is in there. That is in the court record. But
no, it's not. I don't know where she got that from. That's not in the court record, though. I think she's getting the court record confused with Steve Gonzalez's mouth. No offense, but I'm going to take it back a second because she says that she gets this out of like the documents. I'm like, no, that wasn't in the documents.
So
Haley
that's new. I did not know that. He
Yeah,
actually
so-
did slip into the DMs of
Even Megan Kelly's like, well, that's new then.
the other
Yes.
of
yes.
who?
No, that is in there. That is
They
in
have been
the
saying
court
it, though.
record. But my understanding,
Unless it's in a court record she has and we don't, and there shouldn't be any court records like that, right? I mean, nobody should have any sealed court records. So
from some of the families, is that for example, while he might have liked pictures of Kaylee, Maddie's best friend, it was always when Kaylee was in pictures with Maddie. Maddie was, I think, the only one who there were pictures of her solo that he clearly had an internet relationship with. Whether or not he had met her in person, the close friends, I say this in the book, the very close friends, including the young woman and her boyfriend who actually found the bodies inside the house the next day, it's their belief, and obviously it's their best guess at this point, it's their belief, given that none of them recognized Kohberger, but they figured that he was a vegan, that Maddie had worked at this restaurant, the Mad Greek in Moscow, where they served a lot of vegan food. And she was devastatingly pretty, blonde. And it's their best guess that people were always asking her out. And she was always sort of flicking her hair and saying no. I mean, she had a serious boyfriend. But that is their best guess that that's what happened. I do also detail in the book how Kohberger, because he was a criminology PhD student, he had studied serial killers and spree killers, and he'd studied Ted Bundy, but he'd also studied, when he was a psychology major as an undergrad at DeSales University, he'd studied a guy called Elliot Rodger, who was sort of hero of the incel movement, the involuntary celibate movement. And Elliot Rodger had been a college student out in California, going between two college towns in the same way that Kohberger years later was going between Pullman and Washington State, where he was in college, and Moscow, which is where the University of Idaho is. These two college towns are just a 10-mile drive apart. Back in 2014, this guy, Elliot Rodger, was a college student out in Santa Barbara, and he made all these videos and wrote a manifesto of how he was going to go out and murder the sorority girls who had rejected him. He wrote that he was going to take revenge on his childhood best friend called Maddie. And there are a lot of striking similarities between what Elliot Rodger went and did, and Elliot Rodger's misogynistic views of women, and Brian Kohberger's.
Yes.
I mean, the other thing the book
talked
details
about that a bit. Keep going.
Well, it shows, I think, how when Kohberger got to Washington State University, I mean, this is a guy who'd overcome heroin addiction, and he'd come from, extreme poverty. So you would think that to overcome all of that and arrive at a prestigious university to get a PhD in criminology, that this ought to be the apex.
I don't think his family were in extreme poverty. I mean, yeah, they did have to file bankruptcy twice. Filing bankruptcy doesn't necessarily mean that you're poor for the rest of your life. It just means that you, at that moment, don't have a lot of money then.
Of your career, but it all very quickly goes really wrong.
You just owe something, so much. You just owe, like, say you are in like a lawsuit with someone. If you don't have a lot of stuff, if you don't own a lot of stuff, a lot of times they will tell you to file bankruptcy, and then that way the other person can't really get anything from you as well. So maybe they're being sued. Who knows? I don't think they were, but
Brian Kohberger, because he is
I don't think it
unable
was
to
extreme
keep
poverty.
his heinous views of women to himself, both in the classroom and outside of him. And I sort of show in the book how his tenure there, he completely unravels as he gets hauled in front of the administration.
He didn't have a 10-year. He was a TA.
Again and again and again. And it's
Sorry, I
very
didn't
clear
know
that
so
by
many
the
times.
time that he commits the murders, he knows it's game over at Washington State University. He's lost his teaching position and therefore his funding. He's basically not going to be welcome back there. And
nothing left to lose.
He's got nothing left to lose. That's exactly right. Except to try and commit in his twisted mind the perfect crime. And I think the book explains also how the investigators, it almost was the perfect crime. His one mistake was leaving the knife sheath by Maddie Mogan's bed with the DNA on it. But you really can tell, the way I tell the tick-tock of the investigation, that the police really had nothing for weeks and weeks and weeks. They couldn't put the jigsaw puzzle together until the labs finally came back and they were able to use this quite new technique called investigative genetic genealogy, where they're able to use these websites like 23andMe, and they can construct a family tree from the tiniest speck of DNA. And once they were able to do that, then all the other pieces, then they were able to match the car and find the driver's license. And then they were able to look at the security cameras. But it all hung.
We've talked on the show before to Cece Moore, who's really the godmother of.
Can you believe this is one of the authors? I think James wrote the book and he got her because he's maybe getting so super old, like not super old, but he's getting older. And he's written like a gazillion books that maybe he doesn't want to do press tours anymore, right? Like he's just like, no, I want to sit on my boat or whatever he does. I don't know what he does. Or my lake house after I'm done writing. My 40, books for the year. He does write a lot. He writes a lot. And maybe that's why he has her on there. But yeah, because we've read this book and we know we haven't had to, we haven't had to correct anything in the book. Not that I'm aware of yet.
Genetic genealogy. And she really was kind of saying, it's not possible to be a serial killer and get away with it in modern day America because of this, because one speck of touched DNA can be tracked down through these genetic genealogists they're only supposed to go through the public databases, but it came out in this case that they did go through the private ones.
They did.
And they nailed Kohberger's father as having some link to this speck of DNA. They could tell this was the father.
Well, that's because they gave it to the FBI and the FBI did that. The FBI is allowed to do that. Apparently that's what it said. They're allowed.
Father of the killer, basically the hit that they found in their genetic genealogy. And then it was just a matter of time before they got Brian Kohberger's actual cheek swab and said, no, this is actually the perfect match for the DNA that's on this knife sheath. She's like, it's not like it wasn't during the 70s where you can have a Ted Bundy or you can have a Son of Sam.
Yeah.
You can have somebody, going weeks or months or longer with lots of DNA left on the scene, but just no way to pin it down unless you already had the perp in the system. It's different today. Since President Trump was sworn in.
I don't know. What are you talking about him for? Okay. So yeah, I wanted to play that for you guys, but at the same time, I'm like, I wanted you guys to hear that some of that stuff was just like kind of incorrect. And if I hear something that's not correct, I'll stop it and I'll correct it. Or if I like, and that's if I'm like, me, I gotta be 1,000% sure on something or it ain't coming out of my mouth. Also, she was one of the authors on this book with James Patterson. I really do believe maybe he did most of the writing. And maybe she is doing more of the press of it because they don't even look like they would get along. I don't know James Patterson to save my soul, but after you've written so many books, right? You probably are sick of doing press tours. Maybe, I don't know. But we started earlier. We actually read through chapter. I think we're on 90 now, but part 4 just started on chapter 88. So you're like, right on cue if that's where you wanted to start. It's part 4 is called On the Run. And yeah, like I said, we read over a couple of the chapters in the beginning of the first live. And it was talking about Brian Kohberger's travels the day before, or the day of the murder, sorry, the day, like that morning after. And I was trying to see if there's anything else that was important. I don't think so. Nothing. I was trying to see if there's anything that we learned today, like what we learned today that was new. I'm sure there's something. I'll think of it, and then I'll let you guys know. So let me get this book up. So I have a book for you guys to look over and read while I'm reading. Well, I'm reading the same as you. I'm reading this one as well, the larger print. But we are on page. Oh, so we are on 90. Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that. If you look in the book, like look how small that chapter was. Chapter 90, chapter 91. Like, wow. Okay, so Pullman, Washington, November 17th, 2022. And I think we're going to read all the way through part 4. Let me see. I'll tell you how long that is. And hey, Trip. Welcome in, Tom. Hey, Sherry. I don't know if I said hi to you earlier. Okay, yeah. So, wait, are we really? Did I miss 5? Are we on 5? Now we're on part 4. Maybe it's not as much as that. Maybe I like skipped it. Okay. 299 through page 322. Okay, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see how far we get. So chapter 90, Pullman, Washington, November 17th, 2022. And it seems like in each, like we've been reading them by like every 10 chapters, and every time we read, we hear of things that are new. So it says some of the WSU kids have skipped town early for Thanksgiving. The murders over in Moscow have freaked everyone out. So the receptionist at the medical center is glad when one of them at least keeps his scheduled appointment. The kid's name is Brian Kohberger. He comes in a North Face jacket, tall, thin, pale, eyes that bug out. He's a talker, goes out of his way to chat to all of the staff, charm them. He stands out. The receptionist doesn't usually remember anyone's name, but she'll remember Brian's. Her boss doesn't usually comment on any of the patients, but even she says he's so nice and charming. The receptionist agrees. Before he leaves, Brian schedules an appointment for next spring. See you then, she tells him. She and her colleagues will look forward to that. Chapter 91, Pullman, Washington, November 18th, 2022. So what do you think about the murders in Moscow? Peggy at the State Department of Licensing in Pullman is making small talk with the tall, thin WSU student at the front of the line who has come to exchange his Pennsylvania plate for 2 Washington plates for his white Hyundai Elantra. His name, according to the forums, is Brian Kohberger. She and her 5 colleagues regularly make small talk with their customers. They pride themselves on running a government outfit that's got some character. They allow pet dogs to run around. They don't want their customers to have a run-of-the-mill experience just because it's vehicle licensing. They want the experience to be memorable, fun even. They've got a reputation they are proud of. Someone tell our DMVs over here. So Peggy doesn't hesitate to get into the murders with this guy in order to pass the time. Horrific, isn't it? He replies. She later says that there was nothing out of the ordinary about their conversation. He's as happy to chat as she is. Frankly, it makes people feel better about what happened to blow off steam together. It's a productive coping mechanism. The guy says he's as shocked as they all are, nervous too that the murderer is still on the loose. He wants to know what she thinks. Who would have done that? Is the murderer among them? What about the cop? What about what the cops said? It's such a perfectly normal exchange that given the circumstances, Peggy doesn't think twice about it. But then after he's arrested, she sees his face on TV. It hits her. The guy she had that perfectly normal chat with about the murders was changing his plates to try to get away with it. She could hardly believe it. Well, he's asking all these questions. Or were you asking him questions too? Like, he's like, who would have done that? Is the murderer among us? Like, I don't know. I'd have been like, I don't know. Are you the murderer? Because you're asking a lot of questions. So chapter 92, Pullman, Washington, December 2nd, 2022. At 1:45 p.m., Rose Perez, a local hairstylist, sees that one of her regulars, Brian, is coming in for his usual skin fade 35-minute hair appointment. No big deal, she thinks. Brian has always been nice, polite. He started coming to her in July. Since then, he's popped in every few weeks and become one of her regulars. He left her a voicemail yesterday asking if she could fit him in the next day. She was able to see him at Powers Barbershop just off Main Street in Pullman, where she works most days. So today he shows up, and as she clips using the scissors and the blade, they talk the way they usually do. She learns he'll be heading back home to Pennsylvania for Christmas soon, but he plans to be back in January. It's a routine visit on a routine day. But in 4 weeks, Rose won't think anything about it or him was routine. When she sees his mugshot on TV, she falls on the floor. Thank you, Shuri. Thank you. Thanks for the super sticker. That's very nice. Oh, Stu Pod, I want to go back over the Papa Roger stuff. Just because, like, now that he's arrested and everything, I'm like, I was listening to something earlier today. I was like, dang, I think it's him. And I'm always like weary about stuff like that. I'm like, or leery, I think it's called. I said weary, whatever. But I do, and I also think the guy that we played the other day, I do think that was a person that was in class with Brian too. So he left her a voicemail yesterday asking, I already read that, sorry. We're on the next page. It's crazy to find out I interacted with this person, she later said. I touched this person's hair. I made this person look and feel good about themselves. Like everyone whom Brian ran into over the next few weeks, she wonders if they missed any signs. But Brian is a good actor. He's confident. And the Pullman police have no idea that the suspect is in their midst, or what he looks like, or in fact anything, because for once, in an unprecedented fashion, Moscow hasn't been looping them in or sharing any details about that makes them unhappy. Sorry. Glenn Johnson, the Pullman mayor at the time, later reflected, everyone was so frustrated. Where's the information? They kept asking. The Pullman cops have an unwritten rule never to have less than half a tank of gas in their cars in case Moscow needs them to pursue someone who committed a crime there. But now the Pullman cops are sitting in their cars idle. They have nothing to go on. When WSU Police Chief Gary Jenkins considered how Brian resumed his normal activities in Pullman in the days and weeks following the murders, he believes his actions denoted a growing confidence. I would think with every day that went by that he wasn't caught, that his chances were getting better and better that he wouldn't be, Jenkins says. But cockiness, it turns out, can be misplaced. Chapter 93, Pullman, Washington, December of 2022. In one of the last classes of the semester, Criminal Justice Processes and Institutions, a course taught by Craig Hemmons and Wilson Short Hall, the topic of the recent murders in Moscow is brought up for the class discussion. For instance, what is legally on the table for the murderer when they've caught him? Idaho has the death penalty. Washington State does not. The murderer surely would have known this. Ordinarily, Brian would be front and center, speaking more than most of the others. But one of Brian's classmates, someone who has had 4 classes with him that semester and is used to listening to his monologues, notices that he doesn't speak at all. Not once in 3 hours. He's got nothing to say on a topic that has the class revved up. This is extraordinary, the classmate thinks. The classmate assumes Kohberger is ill or tired or something. Ben Roberts, another classmate, remembers dimly that Brian said he was extra short on sleep in December. But it doesn't occur to anyone that their homophobic, misogynistic classmate is anything other than deeply weird. Ben wonders if Brian is feeling the pressure of being the only one in their cohort from the East Coast, if he's found it hard to adapt to Pacific Northwest culture. He is running into an entirely new group of people who are now his peers, he said. He doesn't have any seniority over anybody. He doesn't have any authority. He is trying to adapt to a new social structure on the opposite side of the country, and the West Coast does things somewhat differently than the East Coast. Weeks later, Steve Gonzalez, his blood boiling at the thought of this Pennsylvania kid who came here on purpose to kill us, said something similar. I know my history. The East Coast feels like they're the superior coast, Steve said, but he's determined not to let this atrocity undermine the very reason he moved his family here, his desire to provide a safe home for his family. So his goal is to make absolutely sure prosecutors get a conviction so the world can see that Idaho is still the sanctuary he believes in. We have farm towns and trusting people, Steve said, but he underestimated us. Chapter 94, Pullman, Washington, December 9th, 2022. Brian is blowing up again at Professor Snyder. Only 2 days ago, it had seemed as though Brian might have eked out a Hail Mary. He and Snyder, along with graduate director Dale Willits and Dr. Melanie Angela Nolly, so the cohort hears, had met in Wilson Short Hall to discuss Brian's progress following the improvement plan that had been emailed to him on November 3rd. The plan that told him to be more respectful to women, his professors, his peers, and his students. While not perfect, we agreed that there was progress. Dr. Nolly wrote to Brian, yet the committee still decided it had to terminate him. Because now, just 2 days after that promising meeting, Brian is losing it for the second time this semester with Snyder in the professor's office. When Ben and Brian's cohorts hear this, they are mystified about how anyone could rub the affable, easygoing professor the wrong way. To use every coarse language for a second, Ben said, if you fucked up badly enough that you wound up on a PIP, a performance improvement plan, as a graduate student, you have done something terribly, dreadfully, miserably wrong. But Brian cannot control himself in front of Snyder, apparently. The rest of the class has seen what happens to Brian when he's angry. He goes bright red and clenches his fist so hard that his knuckles turn white. Chief Jenkins heard that one of the thorny issues under discussion is the allegation by a woman student that Brian followed her to her car. But the discussion spins out of control way beyond civility into something angry. 2 days later, on December 11th, Dr. Nolly wrote to Brian requesting a meeting at which he must have known she would fire him and he would lose his funding. She later wrote in the termination letter on December 19th that she'd requested the meeting because during his altercation with Professor Snyder, it became apparent that you had not made progress regarding professionalism. Brian will receive this letter when he's back home in Pennsylvania, so the rest of the cohort is in the dark as to what happened. As far as they know, he'll come back in January, but they aren't giving much thought to him and his difficulties. Top of the mind for them is the troubling fact that there have been these horrific murders in Moscow and the police seem to have no clue who did it. So everyone just wants to get the heck out of Dodge for the holidays. Chapter 95. Pullman, Washington, December 12th, 2022. And I don't know this person. Then we're going to call her Dola. I don't know how to say her last name, so we're going to go by her first name. Dolia, a WSU criminal justice undergrad, is puzzled when she looks at her end of the semester grade. She sees that Professor Snyder's TA Brian has posted that she got a B. He's wrong, she thinks. He added up her scores wrong. She deserves an A, so she emails him and tells him he needs to fix it. She's never had a one-on-one interaction with Brian before. She's seen him in Professor Snyder's class 3 or 4 times, but not recently. It seems that he stopped coming into class. She doesn't know why. She assumes he's gotten his own stuff to take care of. When he was in class, he was strangely restless and flitted around unnervingly. One time, Professor Snyder asked him to move because the professor said he didn't like people standing behind him while he taught. So Brian hovered somewhere by the door. It was awkward. At 10:58 p.m., Brian emails Dola back, I have adjusted the settings to only count your 10 highest scores. This should have a positive impact. Let me know if you have any questions. Good, she thinks, that's taken care of. And she doesn't think about Brian Kohberger anymore until she sees his mugshot a few weeks later. And then she thinks that if he committed the murders he's been accused of, it's both odd and interesting that he bothered to answer her email about her grade. It's true. Probably because he knew it was going to be one of the last questions about a grade that he would be asked and he'd be able to answer. Chapter 96, Indiana, December 15th, 2022. At 10:45 a.m. on the third day of the 4-day cross-country trek east from Pullman, Washington to Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. Father and son hear sirens on I-70 outside Indianapolis. Been on that road before. Brian pulls over and waits for the officer to get out of the car or the cop car and approach from the shoulder. Michael Kohberger is in the passenger seat, a buffer between the officer and his son. If Brian fears the worst, he hides in any inner turmoil. His face is pale as usual, but his hands are in his lap, relaxed. The sheriff's deputy is disarmingly cordial as he asks for Brian's license. You were right up on the back end of that van. I pulled you over for tailgating. Is this your car? Brian nods. Where are you heading? Now Michael injects himself into the conversation with goes strangely surreptitiously. Michael, well, we're coming from WSU. Sheriff deputy, what's WSU? Michael says it's Washington State University. Then he explains there's just been an incident there involving a SWAT team. Brian interjects. I go to the WSU University, basically. No one has answered the deputy's question, so he asks again, so you're coming from Washington State University and you're going where? Michael tells him, we're going to Pennsylvania, he adds, conversationally and with emphasis. We're slightly punchy from days of driving. Sheriff's deputy, what did you say about some SWAT team thing? Michael, there has been a mass shooting and everything. Sheriff deputy, interesting. Michael, well, it's horrifying, actually. Sheriff deputy, so y'all work at the university there? Brian, I actually do work there. Michael with pride, he's getting a PhD. Sheriff deputy, yeah, I hadn't heard about that incident just yesterday. Or Michael explains that just an hour and a half ago, they learned that a SWAT team was called in to deal with a gunman hostage situation at WSU. The situation is still wrapping up. He says he thinks they did shoot somebody. Brian again interrupts his dad. Not sure about that, actually. This conversation has gotten far, far away from tailgating. The cop has gotten other things to do today. Interesting, he says. He lets them go. Not 10 minutes later, the Kohbergers hear sirens again. They're still on I-70. This time it's in Indiana State Police. Again, the trooper explains he's pulled them over because Brian is tailgating. If Brian senses anything strange or threatening about the second stop, he hides it well. This time, Michael looks slightly implaused when the officer appears at the passenger window. But again, the officer is quick to let them go. I'm not going to give you guys another ticket or warning if you just got stopped. Just make sure you give yourself plenty of room. It's all about how fast you're going, okay? Then he asks, where y'all headed? When they answer, he laughs. That's a long haul. You guys scared of airplanes? For weeks, months, years, in fact, after Kohberger is arrested, it's reported the Indiana stops were not random. It's reported that the FBI already had Kohberger in their sights, that the FBI had a single engine plane tracking him, that the FBI hadn't looped in Moscow to what they knew. Many articles mention this, and Chief James Fry gets irritated every time he reads one because it's not only one off base, it's completely nuts. He's pissed that the only leak in the entire investigation came not from any of the people who work directly with him, but he believes from the Pennsylvania branch of the FBI. So tell me this, if they can't keep their mouth shut that we're getting ready to arrest a person, do you think that they can keep their mouth shut about a plane tracking the killer all the way across the United States? He asked sarcastically. Yet again, in his view, the media knows nothing and wants to make a buck off something. It makes a great story, he said wearily. It's also completely untrue. If that truly wouldn't have happened and I would have found out about it, you would have probably seen the roof of the police department come off. The boring truth of it is, as far as Fry knows, and the spokesperson for the FBI has unusually stated on the record, the stops in Indiana were random. And I believe they were random because I've been on that road 100,000 times. Yeah, they pull people over there all the time. It's like one of the hub highways for like trafficking and drugs and all of that. They're constantly pulling people over. I've been pulled over on that road. Told you guys that. Pulled me right over. They saw those Ohio tags. They was like, beep, beep. That was me making the noise that I don't know that they make when they put their lights on. It didn't sound like it. Where are we at? So it says, The boring truth of it is, as far as Fry knows and the spokesperson, okay, I already read that. The timeline of the investigation indicates that law enforcement had not yet homed in on Kohberger on December 15th. Brett Payne hadn't even heard the name Brian Kohberger until the FBI phoned on December 19th. He didn't try to obtain warrants for Kohberger's phone records until December 23rd. It was only in the days right before Christmas that the threads connecting the touch DNA on the knife sheath, the right model of white Hyundai Elantra, and its new license plate and owner came together, and then the phone records all pointed to Brian Kohberger. On December 15th, when the Kohbergers were pulled over, law enforcement still didn't have him. The Kohbergers arrived in Pennsylvania on December 16th without being stopped again, and Fry's team was later able to see that the car had reached home. But in that moment, Kohberger was still safe. He was still below the radar of Fry's team, although that was changing by the minute. Chapter 97, Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, December 28th, 2022. Brian gets in the car. He's cleaned every inch of it inside and out and drives to the end of Monroe County and back. He doesn't know it, but he's got eyes on him every second. The car and his phone are being tracked. There's a team of Pennsylvania state troopers in the woods surrounding 119 Lambsden Drive, surveilling it around the clock. They've been there since yesterday at dawn. They've seen him depositing the garbage in his neighbor's bins. Brian has no idea that they've taken the family's garbage or that a forensics lab will determine that there is a 99.9998% chance that the DNA collected from the trash belongs to the father of the person whose DNA was on the knife she found beside Maddie at 1122 King Road. He has no idea, basically, that it's game over. Chapter 98, Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, December 29th, 2022. When FBI agents stormed the Kohberger family home, blowing the door down and the windows out, raiding it and Kohberger's car, they have warrants for anything and everything that could connect him to the murders at 1122 King Road. Pennsylvania State Trooper Justin Leary signs his name to each of the two long lists that go into the FBI's receipt of property document, which will be made public months later. From Brian's car, they take swabs, Ziploc bag with pink zipper, 7 quarters, plastic baggie with green zipper, 36 dimes, 32 nickels, 8 pennies, gloves, receipts, car insurance card, car registration, hiking boots, comfort in-room key holder and stay information, tire irons, shovel, goggles, floor mats, reflective vest, used water bottles, wrench, door panel, seats, seat cushions, headrest, seat belt, visor, fiber. Oops, wasn't done. Brake pedal, gas pedal, phone charger, Band-Aid, wrappers, maps, document, seatbelt boot. From the Kohberger family home, they take items from quite obviously could connect Brian to the firefighter of Dylan Mortensen's half-awake dream. An assortment of clothing, including black face masks, hats, gloves, boots. They take his phone, laptops, hard drives, computer, the black box Samsung car navigation system, as well as 3 knives, including a large sheath Taylor cutlery knife, a gun, Glock 22, and 3 magazines. They also take a flashlight, 2 bags with a green leafy substance, an AT&T phone bill, and a large Craftsman shop vacuum. More tantalizingly, on Larry's list are items that are not fully explained, but that could suggest a possible motive for murder. It's the inclusion of these that catches the attention of cyber sleuths when the list is made public months later in March. For instance, the list intriguingly mentions a book. It doesn't give a title with underlinings on page 118. All the online forums, the Facebook discussion page, Reddit, TikTok, Instagram, and more will debate for days if this could be the underlying on page 118 of Elliot Rodgers' manifesto. On that page, Roger wrote of how he came to select the date of his day of retribution, his act of misogynistic terrorism. After ruling out Halloween because of the heavy law enforcement presence, he decided it would have to be a normal party weekend, so it was set for some time during November. Then there's the item on Leary's list of a drawing referred to. Hold on. Just one second. Yeah, hold on. That's wrong, I think. Yeah. Okay. That is wrong. Dang, I should be a book writer or like a book proofreader or something, right? Because it's saying on here, look, it said it would have to be a normal party weekend. So I set it for sometime during November. No. It happened in 2013. And that's how they like are getting the November 13th with the 2013 for Roger. But he carried out his crimes, it looks like, in May. Let me double check this because I this might be wrong. Maybe that was his birth date. Let me see. It says July 24th, 1991 to May 23rd, 2014. So he even went beyond October. He's like, no, ain't gonna happen then. Or November, I mean, not gonna happen in November neither. So I'm so confused. Because I know that there was like 2013 and it like that's what matched up. But yeah, that's what it's saying. May 23rd, 2014. So it wasn't in November. I'm gonna start. I need to be a book proofreader. I mean, I could do it. Sign me in. Sign me up, coach. Then there's the item on Leary's list of a drawing referred to as a man's mind. And I'm not sure what that is, but could this be the reference to a well-known black and white poster? Oh, yeah, of a man's face in profile with a naked woman, ironically arched backward, cleverly drawn into his frontal lobe. The man, Sigmund Freud, is scribbled underneath. That's the question posed by cyber sleuths who post the drawing side by side with page 118 of Roger's manifesto and suggest to much agreement that both point to the mind of a misogynistic incel who planned a murder that was more or less a copycat of Roger's 2014 killing spree as vengeance for all the women who would not sleep with him. Other miscellaneous items are harder for the online community to analyze. These include a note to dad from Brian, a note in his desk, a note from Brian to Montana, a criminal psychology book, other criminology books, a maroon notebook, documents, and the DeSales University handbook. All the items are being seized and documented on the other side of the country in Pullman. It's at 10:38 p.m., 1:38 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Chief Jenkins gets the call from Moscow he's been waiting for. Kohberger's been arrested in Pennsylvania. Some of Fry's team, led by Sergeant Dustin Blaker, are already en route to sit outside Kohberger's Pullman apartment while Jenkins' crew paper and serve the warrants. By 7:15 a.m., the paperwork is done, and while Jenkins' team watches, the Moscow team goes in looking for evidence that ties Kohberger to the King Road murders. They take according to papers filed in court, one nitrile type black glove, one Walmart receipt with one Dickies tag, two Marshall's receipts, dust container from Bissell Power Force vacuum, 8 possible hair strands, one fire stick with cord plug, one possible animal strand, one possible hair, one possible hair, one possible hair, one possible hair strand, one computer tower, one collection of red dark spots collected without testing, 2 cuttings from uncased pillow of reddish brown stain, larger stain tested, and they were tested and came back for blood, but it was his, I guess. 2 top and bottom of mattress cover packaged separately, both labeled C, multiple stains, one tested. When this list is published, it isn't just the internet forums that focus on the possible animal hair strand, along with the bloodstains in human hair as being of vital importance. Steve Gonsalves wonders if the hair could belong to Murphy, Kaylee's golden doodle, now in Jack's care. She'd love to sleep with Murphy. She loved to sleep with Murphy. So the question I want answer is, who put Murphy in the separate room that night? Steve, I want to know that question too. I think it was Kaylee. I think she was sleeping in her own. I think she was sleeping in that room that night, not with Maddie. That's just my personal thing. But I'm glad that they bring that up. If it was Brian Kohberger, well, Steve thinks that could have been a costly mistake. Chapter 99, Monroe County, Pennsylvania, December 30th, 2022. They told him in the Monroe County Correctional Facility in Stroudsburg, about 25 miles from his parents' home, that they talked to him for nearly 15 minutes. Brian Kohberger is charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder for Xana, Ethan, Maddie, and Kaylee, and 1 count of felony burglary for breaking into 1122 King Road. They've swabbed him for DNA several times. Presumably, the samples are in a lab being analyzed right now. but Brian knows no more than that about what law enforcement has on him. According to Idaho law, Brett Payne's probable cause affidavit must remain sealed until the suspect is back in the state. At first, Brian says he doesn't need a lawyer. He's calm. When he's asked if he knows about the murders they're talking about, he says, of course. Yes, certainly I'm aware of what's going on. I'm 10 miles away from this, he says. And then suddenly he changes his mind. He asks for a lawyer. While he waits, he's given a dark green blanket, like suicide prevention vest to wear. As a Fox News reporter explains, suicide prevention vests are used to ensure warmth and comfort while not obstructing the wearer's movements, according to PSP Corp, a maker of tactical and suicide prevention gear. Yeah, they just can't be like, they can't be taken apart and stuff, like ripped apart like sheets and stuff can, or like shoestrings and things of that nature. The vest cannot be rolled or torn and prevent inmates from using the fabric to create a weapon or hanging mechanism. On the morning of December 30th, Jason LaBar, the chief public defender for Monroe County, comes to see Brian. LaBar said that he was astonished when he first got the call. Of course, he knew about the murders, but the suspect to be in Monroe County, I did not expect that. LaBar finds that his new client is calm in all of their 4 meetings over the next 3 days, unusually calm given the circumstances. Brian tells the lawyer that he was shocked when the agents burst into his parents' home waving guns in his face. Well, at least you weren't sleeping. LaBar said that in his experience, and he has quite a lot of experience, every defendant reacts differently. Kohberger seems to want to chat. It's as if he's got a story he wants to tell LaBar, but the lawyer cuts him off. I really wanted to make sure that Kohberger understood that I didn't want to know about the facts and circumstances. LaBar explains to Brian that he's there only to handle the extradition proceedings, that someone in Idaho will be appointed to him to act as his criminal lawyer, that the only way for Brian to learn why he's been charged with these crimes is to fly back to Idaho. Only then will the probable cause affidavit, the document filed by police with enough in it to justify the arrest and search warrants, will be available to him. LaBar is just as in the dark as his client. LaBar is almost surprised by how quickly Brian agrees to waive his rights in Pennsylvania and be extradited. His client wants to understand what the police think they know. He was very candid with me about the extradition, LaBar said, which made his job easier. So did Brian's obviously high intelligence and working knowledge of criminal law. LaBar works with Brian on the wording of what he and his role as chief public defender will say to the media. Journalists noted that it did not explicitly state that he was innocent. On Saturday, December 31st, LaBar issues that statement. Mr. Kohberger has been accused of very serious crimes, but the American justice system cloaks him in a veil of innocence. He should be presumed innocent until proven otherwise, not tried in the court of public opinion. One should not pass judgment about the facts of this case unless and until a fair trial in court, at which time all sides may be heard and interference is challenged. Mr. Kohberger is eager to be exonerated of these charges and looks forward to resolving these matters as promptly as possible. And here we are. 2.5 years later. Hey, Ishi. Hey, Tony. Welcome in. Hey, Crystal. I don't know if I said hey to you earlier. Hey, True Crime Lullabies. Oh, we are at the pool. Ooh, I like the pool at night. We never get to swim here at night. I should sneak in there. Lived here for 9 years now, right? I don't think they'd mind. Sneak my dog in too. Just kidding. Just kidding. Chapter 100. Let me see how many after 100. Because I want to go all the way to part 5. Oh, it's actually not that far after. It's only 1 chapter after. How long have we been on? Wow, it's going to be a shorter live. We'll get my beauty rest tonight, boys and girls. And we're like, I'll tell you how far in the book, like how many percentage we have done after this, because we're like a good percentage in. I'm like, wow. And Vincent couldn't believe that I read this many chapters to you guys. I was like, well, they're shorter, but they're, but still a lot. But I like reading to you guys. Monroe County, Pennsylvania, January 3rd, 2023. Dressed in a red prison jumpsuit. Oh, okay. Brian walks into the Monroe County Court of Common Pleas in Stroudsburg for the extradition hearing. He looks 3 times at his family. The person he gazes at directly is his father, Michael. Brian even smiles faintly. As Judge Patty Worthington questions him as to whether he's fully understood what he's waiving his rights in Pennsylvania and will be flown to Idaho to face 4 charges of murder, Mary Ann Kohberger collapses. A court official rushes over and provides Kleenex. Miss Kohberger's eyes are so swollen from crying that she can barely see as the proceedings finish. 2 nights ago, the family released a statement that had worked on with LeBar, that they had worked on with LeBar. I told y'all this was a lawyer statement. I knew a lawyer wrote this. First and foremost, we care deeply for the 4 families who have lost their precious children. There are no words that can adequately express the sadness we feel, and we pray each day for them. We will continue to let the legal process unfold, and as a family, we will love and support our son and brother. We have fully cooperated with law enforcement agencies in an attempt to seek the truth and promote his presumption of innocence rather than to judge unknown facts and make erroneous assumptions. We request privacy in this matter as our family and the families suffering loss can move forward through the legal process. After the judge signs the extradition order and they've said goodbye to Brian, who walks out of the courthouse flanked by guards, the Kohbergers return to their home with its blown out windows and doors. Privacy is something they will find they have lost. Yeah, because later that evening, they're going to hear a knock, knock, knock. Hey, hey, it's Brian Enton. He snuck into that place. He didn't care. Or he paid someone or like he might have paid someone to like let him like in there, you know, like the guard. I don't even know if there's a guard though. Like a lot of those places that are gated, like a gated community, they never have a guard. Like in the actual like little building, you know. Let me know if you live in a gated community and if there's ever a guard there. There's never a guard around. Chapter 101. Pullman Moscow Regional Airport, Pullman, Washington, January 4th, 2023. We watched this whole flight too, his whole flight from one place to the next. And then they stopped for fuel, I think twice. It was pretty entertaining. The single prop plane makes 2 refueling stops. And I hope he was. I hope he is scared of flying. Because they put him in this tin can to fly back in. First at Willard Airport in Savoy, Illinois, and then Rapid City, South Dakota, on its journey from Pennsylvania to Pullman. Man, that must have been a journey. A sea of law enforcement members of the Latah County Sheriff's Office arrive at 5:15 p.m. ahead of the 6:23 scheduled landing. It's pitch dark when Brian gets out, cuffed, but the flashes pop and media can see his distinctive features as he towers over the officers flanking him. He's got a dark winter jacket on over his red prison clothes. Agents load him into a black SUV and make the 8-mile drive to the Latah County Jail beside the courthouse in Moscow, where they book him. Then he waits in a small cell for a lawyer and for the wheels of justice to start turning, moving him towards his eventual trial for mass murder. As far as law enforcement knows, it's Kohberger's first time back in Moscow since his brief visit to King Road 4 hours after he allegedly committed the murders. This time he's here to stay for the foreseeable future. Sorry, Kohbergs. You're there for the foreseeable future, he said. Yeah, if you guys don't mind, hit the like button. It'd really help your girl out. It really does help the channel. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, we do talk true crime. I try to talk. But when we get there, whenever the words do come out of my mouth, we do talk true crime daily on this channel. So if that's something that you guys are into, don't forget to, subscribe. Also, if you'd like to become a member, I did pin the link at the top of the chat earlier tonight. So if you guys want to become a member, it's always usually pinned at the top every live for you guys. So I appreciate that too. And it's very early tonight. And then, is there anything else? Let me see. We'll read this when the book's done. I was going to tell you how far along in the book we are. Okay. And I do want to go back over the Papa Roger posts soon, because I do think that that was probably most likely Brian Kohberger. Now that, I mean, just think about it. He's surveys online, Tappa Talk, you know, the way he talked on Tappa Talk. I see him being the person, you know, to do that, to want to be close, you know. No, I'm going to get him one tomorrow. Is she? I didn't even end up leaving today, but I did give him. He did get a lot from me today. He gets a lot from us every day. But I'm gonna make him keep it on. I'm gonna super glue it to his head. No, I didn't feel like going anywhere today. I was like, do I want to? I actually went to the pool and I fell asleep in a beach chair. I was like, officially old, and I like that. It was just a beautiful day. Like, it was just not too hot. It was just perfect. I went to the pool and I fell asleep. I think I got burnt like right here, because when I washed my face, it like burnt a little bit earlier. And then when I put lotion on it, it burnt a little bit. And I'm like, dang. Yeah, I literally didn't watch any YouTube today. Like, other than like the America's Next Top Model stuff I like to watch with the photographer lady. And believe me, my brain feels so good today that I just I didn't spend the day watching YouTube. Like, I was on YouTube. We did our live this morning, or this afternoon. It was like 12. And then I came back on tonight because I was like, man, we're going to be able to do more lives. So I'm just going to have them all the time in the world. So I appreciate it. I do. I feel like a weight's been lifted off my shoulders. But I've had to go through Twitter, and I'm trying to go through my Twitter and clean it up a little bit. And I'm muting everybody. I don't know where you unmute them at. I don't care. If I mute them, then that's just me kind of muting them. I'm just muting them forever. Are there really people who think that was not BK? Me, Mariska, I was on the fence. I was one of those people that I was like, I don't know. It could be, it probably is. You know what I mean? Like, I was guessing on that one. Like, I wasn't like saying one way or the other with him. But some of the ones I was just, that we knew were fake. Some of the stuff that has come out, we knew was fake right away. I was like, that's fake. Just like the article that came out said Brian was going to do a tell-all. I was like, that's fake. Hey, Tammy. And there's been a lot of stuff in this case that's come out that we've had to say that's not right. It could be, Sherry. Yeah. I just feel like with Brian's online activity, it wouldn't surprise me, Really? Designed a studio? There are still people, that think BK was set up. Yeah. Oh, gosh. I mean, why would they pick him? He's not that important. Like, I think those people need to realize that. Like, he's just not that important. He's just not. Oh, and I did find a picture, but I couldn't find a picture of the back of the house for some reason. I'm going to try to find one of the parking lot. Like, I have one of the overhead. And I'll show you that on the next live so we can kind of see what they could see. Is that that is an umbrella. That's a whole setup right there. Oh, wow. Somebody set up no wonders why Nancy set up a table out front. We should watch that episode again. Hey, Turquoise. Now that was a good episode. She hasn't really put anything out on this case though. I'm like, why not, Nancy? I need your personality. So, oh wait, I did see this. Let me read you guys this. So it just says that the parents of Kayla Gonzalez, one of the University of Idaho students stabbed to death in Moscow, spoke out about their frustrations over the lack of information on how their daughter died and the plea deal offered to Brian Kohberger, who admitted to 4 counts of first-degree murder in exchange for no longer facing the possibility of the death penalty. Steve and Christy Gonzalez, who have been vocal about their support for capital punishment for Kohberger, and their attorney appeared on the Today Show Friday and said they hope to see the case go to trial. They had also hoped to get more answers on what happened to their daughter that night, they said. Gonzalez has said that they have been pressing for more information from the Idaho State Police, Moscow Police, and FBI about their daughter's murder and her last few moments to write an accurate victim's impact statement. They should know that. They should know that so they can write a correct victim's impact statement. Wow. The family attorney, Shannon Gray, told Today he spoke with the prosecuting attorneys to try to get more information from the discovery case as soon as possible. The Gonzalez's received limited information from the coroner about how Kaylee died that night. She had several stab wounds, a broken nose, signs of asphyxiation, and defense wounds on her arms, Christie told the Today Show. Do you think that he was defense wounds on her arms? Do you think that he was holding her down? Not maybe not so much defense wounds as like a knife, or she was doing this. That's the first thing you're going to do when someone's trying to come at you with a weapon. That's what I would think. You would shield yourself from it, right? Oh, Lordy. Or he was trying to hold her down when he was doing that with it, holding her with the mouth. So let's see where we are. Steve Gonzalez said he wants to know more details about that night, such as how many times his daughter was stabbed, and he wants to find out through the investigators, not from the media or from Kohberger himself. I think we're going to find out secrets through his sick, twisted mind, he said. He's going to write about it. He's going to have exclusive interviews with his family members, and that's how we're going to hear about it. I hope not. And I think that, okay. But I did hear him say something along the lines of that he was happy about where everything is at right now. Not happy with I don't think he's happy with he said something I'm happy that we're able to move on now. So maybe in the long run, he'll realize this, wasn't such a bad thing for them to take a plea deal, I guess. I just feel so bad for them. I wish we would have been able to see a trial. I mean, I was ready to take off the next 3 months. And my schedule was going to be open. No doctor's appointments, no nothing. Unless they could take me on a day. Can you take me in the afternoon, early in the morning, before court? And I feel really bad for Hunter. He looks like a whole different ass person. The more I looked at him during, the docuseries, which we will go over the docuseries too. Yeah, just like Chris Watts. Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to jump off here. I'm going to get some sleep tonight. I've been waking up super early. Doesn't he look? Yeah, he looks so small. I know. He does not look like the same kid that walked out of that in police body cam with the zip ties on, carefree. I mean, you could see the carefreeness in him, right? And then I should do a video on that. Just look what some of you people put these kids through. Not only did they see horrific things, but then they were blamed for it. Could you imagine? Oh my God. The whole country is imagine being Jack Showalter. I'll say it for the people. I'm sorry you were treated like a piece of crap, Jack Showalter. We watched you the one night and we were like, no, he goes this way and then that way. He went the opposite way than the girls. But not a lot of other people saw that. Yeah, it's bad. Right, Trips? I love me a good discussion about a case and someone that has a difference of an opinion. And as long as it's a good debate. Some of the people, man. Yes, Marianne, none of them got on social media. They didn't really talk to anybody. They all kept their mouths pretty much closed, especially the fraternity brothers. They all were no, we're not going to say anything. And I think that was mostly because they were scared and they had Ethan's mom there. she stopped by the Sigma Chi house. They had spent the night that night or something. They had all drank and like hung out or whatever, and just had times, talking about Ethan. And for like that moment they talked about in the book for that night, it was like they were in their own little cocoon in a way, and they were protected. And so I think that with her taking on them kids, like all as a group, like as a mother, figure, like I think that they all knew to, be good with their brother, Ethan. Hey, what are you whining back there? She looks funny without her collar on. Yeah, thank you, Dion. Yeah, we are spectators. Yep. Yeah, they were good. They are good kids. Well, I'm going to jump off here. I'm going to take the dogs and get them a cookie. Have a good day tomorrow. If I don't see you, I will be on tomorrow evening sometime. I'll let you guys know on the community tab if it's any earlier than usual. Oh, I was wondering what she was doing over there. But what are you doing? She's putting her paw on the floor. I'm like, what is that noise? But thank you guys for being here tonight. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming and reading the book with me. So now we are on what chapter? We're starting the next we read through all this. I'm like trying to figure out what the name of the next part. The next part is part 5, and it's the blame game. So that might be Ann Taylor's cue. Maybe that's when she's coming in. I don't know. But thank you guys for being here tonight. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful tomorrow morning. If I don't see you before Monday, have a wonderful day tomorrow. Bye, guys.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how.